Hey guys, this week's podcast guest is Laura Anhalt, the author of Mexican Flavors, a journey inspired by the folklore and traditions of Mexican cuisine. Let's get to it.
You were going to Mexico, right?
That's
for
right.
For the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you get to go back to Mexico?
Not as much as I would want. And I always had this romantic kind of a thought that when my kids grew up and my mother started to age, that I would then, again, leave Buffalo and go to Mexico.
Yeah.
But apparently that's not going to happen. When I was there in July, I was in for a very rough realization that was just kind of like a dream.
Oh, okay.
Something that very slowly is beginning to lose all sense of reality.
I see. How long did you grow up in Mexico for? When did you move up here?
I moved to Buffalo about 13 years ago only.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. So you're there for for a good chunk, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
A super huge chunk of my life.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Yeah.
But when you leave your country, you leave behind a certain romanticism. A certain ghost of the past, if I may.
Okay.
And at that point, it just makes it impossible to return to that. You know, Mexico has changed. It has grown. Yeah. It has become a little bit more violent than what it used to. Yeah. My mother, sure, she has aged in place, basically. Mm-hmm. And in her ways, you know, I thought I could help, but I cannot. Yeah. And, you know, my kids are having a life of their own. Yeah. So, you know, whatever it is that I thought was not.
Oh, yeah. So I'm assuming when you were in Mexico is when your love of cooking and food all started. Obviously, I mean, obviously with your book. I mean, how did you get started? Like, you know, was food a big part of your upbringing, like growing up and things like that?
Food played a huge role. In my family. And because of that, it was, you know, our life was full of it. Yeah, yeah. We would have the most fantastic get-togethers in a region of Mexico called Cuernavaca, which is the city of eternal spring. Okay. And we would eat from the moment we woke up to the moment we went to bed. And you would think, well, here we are, right? Like roly-polies. But no. It was very much fun. And the cook that we had, Flora, was a wonderful inspiration in everybody's life. I mean, when you think about it, we all grew up to have careers in the food business.
Oh, really? So all of your siblings? Or?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where we our parents just were marveled by food. Okay. And so that was...
So it's important to them.
Yeah.
And so it transferred on to you guys. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And we used to travel a lot. So we also knew foods from around the world. Oh, okay. My father is pretty much like kind of like a globetrotter chef. Oh, okay. He was. Yeah. Right? Because he passed away a long time ago. But that's the reason that my blog now is called The Globetrotter Chef.
Yeah, yeah. I was just reading that today. It's very nice. Mm-hmm. The pictures are gorgeous in that. It looks awesome. Yeah.
It's very basic. Yeah. And I'm at the very beginning of it. I don't have much time to really, you know, do it on a daily basis. Yeah, like I would really. But it's much to keep him and his love of food pretty much alive. And being able to share it with people. Mm-hmm. One of the fantastic things about the blog now, I can start giving giveaways. Yeah. But really cool stuff. Nice. You know, like Le Creuset sets and KitchenAid blenders and just really beautiful stuffs that I will begin to, you know, post. And it's free for people to grab, you know. Yeah. So
and also, I mean, people should just be reading this blog just because it's you write some good stuff as well. And what was I looking at today? I was showing a coworker. I think the flaming cockroach was that the shot with the tequila and Kahlua. I was like, I was telling like my coworker, I was like, yeah, we're going to be doing these next happy hour.
Oh heck yeah! They're so much fun. Yeah. You really have to mind the warmth of the glass after it stops flaming. Oh okay. But yeah, I like see what I find enchanting about Mexican food, Mexican drinks, Mexican culture is that everything is sort of linked to a past. There is a reason as to why things are done the way that they are.
Yeah.
You know, so when I was asked to write about probably 5 years ago, a little bit, about a cocktail of the month for Buffalo Rising, I was thinking, what kind of a drink can I bring that has a Mexican flair to it? And that would be exciting for people to try.
Yeah.
And the cockroaches were, the ones that came to mind.
Yeah.
Because you're like, is it really because it's inspired by a cockroach? Or is it really a Mexican song, that dates back to the 1800s?
Yeah, La Cucaracha.
La Cucaracha, that's right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I just like how the blog seems like it's you're not narrowed in on one thing. I mean, you can do something simple as a simple shot, but then you can also have a nice more complex dish or food or things like that. I saw the and like fun things like the dulce de leche Jello. I believe I saw. Yeah, there's a lot of just it's a nice variety. It seems like that's what you're interested in, is showing a spread of things.
And also the fact that Mexican cuisine is really relatively simple.
Yeah.
Let's say if you compare it to Chinese cuisine or to even Japanese cuisine.
Yeah.
Mexican food is so simple and so basic and so ancient and really so healthy. Not like Taco Bell. Not like anything else that calls itself
Mighty
Mexican.
Taco.
Right. We do a lot of desserts with fruits.
Yeah.
So a mango can be your dessert. Also salads galore.
Yeah.
Tacos, absolutely, but with the right kind of tortillas and the right kind of fillings that aren't necessarily prepared with a lot of fats or a lot of carbs or a lot of anything.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly healthy cuisine.
Yeah. It's all about, and fresh ingredients and all that. I mean, it must have been somewhat of a culture shock when you came up to Buffalo and saw places like Mighty Taco. I mean, was there a part of you that were like, wait a minute, do people really think this is Mexican food? Like, was there that kind of or were you kind of prepared that we don't really know what Mexican food is up
Completely prepared. Because as a child growing up, our parents used to take us to Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
And so one of our sins was really eating at Taco Bell. Like every time that my father said, "What do you want to eat?" we'd say, "Taco Bell, please," because it was just so different.
Yeah.
We were craving that, I'm going to say nasty kind of a flavor.
Yeah.
Because it was so different than our very healthy Mexican diet.
Yeah. I mean, it's all fried and fatty and
it's like
which kids love.
Drooping in fat and oils, and it was just horrendous.
Yeah, but kids love that stuff, unfortunately. Yeah, it's hilarious.
And it was much to my mother's delight, right, that at the end of the vacation we were craving our usual normal Mexican diet.
Yeah.
It was beautiful for her.
to slowly detox yourself off the bad Americanized versions. That's
You'd be asking
fantastic.
for the healthier kind of tacos.
Yeah. So, when you raised your kids, I mean, did you try to bring that love of food over that you gained from your childhood, or were they pretty big foodies, I guess you could say?
Yes, and they still are.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Even, you know that Daniela is living in Mexico. Okay. She's the one that got married.
Yes.
And Enrique moved there 3 months ago.
Okay.
My daughter Nicole decided to move to California, and I still have Patrick here with me in Buffalo.
Yes.
But they all have the sense of Mexican pride of food sort of instilled in them. They eat very Mexican.
Okay.
Even though they were either living here in Buffalo or Toronto or, of course in California you have a lot more of a variety.
Yeah. And I mean, a fairly large Hispanic population too there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they hold that pretty strong and dear.
Good. How hard is it for you to find ingredients to still cook Mexican in Buffalo? Do you think it's gotten a lot better since you've been here?
It has.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I have no trouble finding anything except maybe certain spices like epazote.
Okay.
Or corn fungus. But if I'm really craving to do something with that, I can always drive myself to Toronto.
Oh, okay. So that's like your backup, your plan B. Yeah.
But there's a lot of really good things here. And see, when I was writing the cookbook, one of my focuses had to be, if what I am trying to relay is this love for food and the possibility of cooking Mexican anywhere.
Yeah.
I have to make sure that I keep the ingredients not only simple, but findable.
Yeah. You don't want to put something on there that somebody's going to have to buy it on Amazon or something like that. Yeah.
It really wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And when I was conveying those thoughts to my mom, she said, you know what, sweetheart, you don't have to worry about that because it really is your book. It is your recipes. It is your life stories. It is everything that you are sharing.
Yeah.
And if people have a hard time getting it, well, then they have a hard time getting it. But I'm not like that. You see, when I share, I really, really want to share. I want you to be able to make it right here in your kitchen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I've read the book. I've been going through it this last week, like, and for preparation. It's fantastic. Like, and the recipes are not that crazy. I mean, I'm sure you helped to spotlight the ones that are maybe the lower of a learning curve too, but it seems like Mexican cuisine isn't that tricky to start. Yeah. So when did the idea of doing a cookbook start to pop in your head? Like, is this something that you've wanted to do for a while, or is this something that more recently kind of...
I actually never wanted to write a cookbook. Every time that my students asked, hey, wouldn't you like to put it in words? Wouldn't you like to have like a recipe book that could be, pinned to you and you only?
Yeah.
My thought was, no. If you want a good Mexican cookbook, I can always refer you to many. But why am I going to write something that has already been written? That had always been my thought.
Yeah.
And then the thought of the book came because it didn't start out like a book. It started out as really a medical condition.
Okay.
I had a one-on-one chat with my physician.
Okay.
And he gave me a diagnosis that none of us want to ever hear.
Yeah.
And when I did hear that, I asked him, I said, listen, what would you do with the diagnosis that you just gave me?
Yeah.
And he said, well, it's the very same thing that I would tell any patient, whether they have any sort of disease or not, is just do whatever the heck you feel like doing. Just live your life to the fullest, because a diagnostic thing should not take away from your life, from your happiness, and from what you can contribute.
Yeah,
so I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
And as I was driving home, I stopped at Barnes & Noble, and I got 4 actually, bound notebooks.
Okay.
Because I thought I might not have a chance to leave my story in writing for my children.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to tell each of them everything that I want to tell them. And, oh well, that'll be. So I did start to write a little book for each one.
Yeah.
And then one day I woke up in a panic. It must have been about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, oh my God, I am such a horrible mother. Because if I die today, then I will have written 14 pages for Patrick, 17 for Daniela, 9 for Nicole, 20 for Enrique, and they're all going to say, oh, she loved you more than me, because, now there's a lot more pages written about this.
Yeah.
So I woke up in a panic, and I thought, you know what? I need to merge these.
Yeah,
so that everybody has the same background, the same thought, the same everything. And even though they're 4 completely different individuals, I thought that by merging the stories and what was important, what I thought was important to leave as a legacy.
Yeah.
That they would the four of them would benefit from those same words, rather than to try to explain things differently to each one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I had a bunch of friends over for dinner. My photographer, Scott Gable, and his wife, Sarah, were over for dinner. And he said, well, what about that book? And I said, well, if you're still on it, I'm ready. He's like, when do we leave? Because it would really be an honor to retrace the footsteps of your past.
Yeah.
And 3 days later, we were on an airplane
wow.
via Houston into Mexico, and we stayed there for quite a long time.
Yeah. How long was the process of this book making, I guess?
5 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Clearly, all of the health issues have gone away.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think that's part of what helped me also.
Yeah.
The whole writing of it, making it be perfect, wanting to also, let my mother know how family was incredibly important to me, how what she taught me, what she's made of, has made me the person, that I am today.
Yeah.
So it's a book of family, a book of places, a book of food, a whole 312 pages worth of stories and delicacies and really folklore and traditions of our people.
Yeah. I mean, I don't own a lot of cookbooks, I'll be honest. I'm just starting now to get into wanting to try to make things at home, and picking up cookbooks. They're not the ones that my mom used to have, where it had just basically like punch cards and recipes, and like that was it, like a very brand. And what I love so much about your cookbook is that you could read it and not actually cook anything. Mm-hmm. You could just read the book for enjoyment, to look at the gorgeous photography, and to get a sense of different areas of Mexico, different cultures and things like that. And it's a really cool thing about your book, that somebody could pick it up and just read it and not have to go into a kitchen too. I mean, and I recommend that they do, because the recipes sound delicious, but that's a really cool feature about your book.
And I remember during the process of writing the book, I have two brothers, and they're both chefs and restaurant owners.
Yeah.
And during the process, I wanted to talk to them about how the book was coming along.
Yeah.
And my brother Arturo, who is the next one from me in line, as in age-wise,
okay,
he was like, oh, whatever, this is cool, whatever floats your boat, I guess, should be fine. He was kind of like the yes, let's see it happen.
Oh, okay,
right?
Okay.
Whereas when I sat down with Andres, he would tell me, I cannot see your vision. These things about stories and family and the past and the present and the future and Mexican cuisines, the modern kind, and then you go back 2,000 years and stuff like I just don't get it. He's like, Laura, there's a reason that cookbooks are written the way that they are. They have a format that works. You've got the appetizers, and you got the entrees, and you got the side dishes and the drinks and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I really have no idea what you're talking about. Like, to me, this does not seem viable.
Yeah.
But instead of feeling discouraged by it, it gave me a different kind of empowerment. And so when the book was finally done, I had written it and Scott had photographed it, and the designers that we got were two young guys from California that were really wanting to work on a project that would take them to another level. When we were done and we finally put it together, and the first printing of the book came, to hold it in my hands and go, oh my gosh, I cannot believe, because I mean, I've seen it, through the whole process of of how it's been worked, and having a hand in it all the time. Mm-hmm. It was just like, I can't believe that this is real. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So when I sent it to my mother, we were, me and two of my other kids were going to Washington, D.C. to spend a week.
Okay.
When the book was first published. And so we got it the day that we were leaving. I immediately took it to FedEx and put 60 copies in the mail for my mother in Mexico.
Wow.
And her birthday was going to be that Friday, the 11th of July. And I said, Mom, I know you're not going to get them for your birthday, right? Because today is Wednesday and your birthday is Friday, so it won't happen. But here's my, my birthday present to you, which I hope you enjoy.
Yeah.
Well, she did receive it on her birthday.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it only took them 2 days to deliver.
Yeah.
But she told me when she called my Washington, D.C. hotel, she's like, the moment Andres saw it, he sat down and wept for about a half an hour.
Oh, wow.
So that just, it created more of a bond, I think, between my brothers and I, because we share the same history. Right?
Yeah.
We share the same past and maybe not the same future, but, it's kind of, it was a very reassuring kind of a situation. And they knew why the book had begun to begin with.
Yeah.
And to have me there 5 years later,
yes,
with a book in hand, it was a very emotional moment for everybody.
I can only imagine. Yeah. I mean, especially 5 years putting into something. I mean, was there any point in that 5 years where things were a little trying and you're like, I'm not sure if this book is going to happen? Or
many times during the process. I think the first one was when Scott and I first returned from Mexico to Buffalo.
Okay.
That I thought, oh my gosh, I have 5,000 photos. And I have all these stories that have no heads and no tails. How am I going to be able to bind it all together cohesively?
Yeah.
And it became very, very challenging to do that.
Yeah.
So it was like my mind was in 10 different places at the same time. And at one point I just thought, I'm going to give up.
Yeah.
This is not doable. But I have a friend, my friend Paula Rosner. She's like my mom in Buffalo. And she told me, you quit. Oh, you have no idea what I do to you. You just have to continue and look forward and forward and forward and not be stuck on what you think you cannot do.
Yeah.
And then I tend to think that I wrote the book in 1/3 of a part each. It's kind of like it has 3 parts, even though it's such a large book.
Yeah.
One is about family and traditions, which was the most hard part of the book to write.
Yeah.
The other one is about the history of Mexico. And the other one is about my cooking.
Okay.
So basically my legacy to my family about what food and life has been to me. So sort of like my life stories.
Yeah.
And the history about Mexico, it came together beautifully.
Yeah.
It was never an issue. I knew that I wanted to write about San Miguel de Allende in Guanajuato, and so writing about the place and the foods that are displayed locally and stuff like that it really was very easy to write and very fulfilling.
Yeah.
Because I was achieving.
Yeah.
And I was able to match words with places, with recipes, with photos. So it made me incredibly happy.
Yeah.
The third part of the book was also relatively easy to work on because it was my relationship with food.
Yeah.
Through my times, right? 17 years of cooking behind the scenes, writing recipes behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah.
Never being on the forefront of anything.
Yeah.
This was my time to tell my story.
Yeah.
And then the first part was a little bit more challenging to write because it was about family. It was about where my parents come from, because even though they were both born in Mexico, they are born of European immigrants. Okay. So when people say, how come you have green eyes and blonde hair and you're Mexican and I don't understand it, plus you have a last name like Anhalt, don't pull my leg. You are not a Mexican. Well, yes, I am, right? Not only me, but my parents as well. And we have, this background of... some of my grandparents came from Austria, some came from Germany, some came from Poland, just all over Europe.
Yeah.
Really, when you start tracing back, it's a very long line incredible stories. So I decided to take it from my great-grandparents on my mother's side, because those are the ones that I had more information on, and started working from them forward.
Okay.
And at the point where the designers were already at hand, Scott and I had already decided how, what photos go with what text, what recipes we're going to add, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I was working on my work computer in a flashcard.
Uh-huh.
And there had been something that they had done some sort of decoding of computers that day, and my flashcard was inside where I kept all of my text.
Jeez.
And I make myself a cup of coffee. It's Saturday morning. I'm sitting just to finish what read over the suggestions of the editor and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And my work is gone. That 1/3 of family and traditions, gone.
Oh, my God.
It was unrecoverable. But the other 2 were already, gone to the designers.
Yeah.
And here I am. I feel this pang in my belly. Because not only had it taken the most time, it was the weirdest to try to put together.
Yeah.
And it made me cry for the whole writing process, because all of the people I talk about are no longer here.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was very heart-wrenching. And I called my mom, and I said, I'm heartbroken, and I don't know what to do. And she said, well, you wrote it once, you will write it again. I'm like, well, look at you. You make it seem so simple and blah, blah. But it happened for the best reason. Because right at that moment in time, I met a very special lady, my biological mother.
Oh, wow.
And I always knew that I had been adopted. But you know how these days parents from the United States adopt kids from all over, like from China and Colombia.
Yeah, yeah.
And the thing is about, bringing other cultures into the United States. More than 40 years ago, when my parents were thinking about starting their family, and my mother had struggled so much for years and years, and she could not get pregnant, they came to the United States to get help. And after a lot of pergonal injections to the ovaries and everything, she was still deemed infertile.
Yeah.
And, well, I was finally born, 8 months after her treatment started.
Yeah.
And they took me to Mexico. And it's amazing because I look identical to my adoptive family.
Yeah.
Right? And 9 months later, my brother Arturo was born.
Oh, jeez.
To my parents. And so my mother always said that I was her angel. And before my dad died, he said, you have to really go and find your roots. Not because we weren't, but because you deserve. Everybody has a birthright to know where they come from. What genetically, if so, they will struggle through in life.
Yeah.
And for your children, to also know genetically what can go good or bad.
Yeah.
So you should look. I really didn't look. It was her who found me. Just at that cathartic moment when, things were just so weird, and I had just lost 1/3 of my manuscript.
Jeez.
And then what I did was I wrote her the story of my life. And I thought, that's my book. That's my 1/3 of a part of family and traditions that I am missing. Because I was introducing to her my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my parents, my brothers, just everybody.
Yeah.
And it was, written with her in mind. So,
wow. That's intense. That's crazy.
I know. But if it hadn't been because it got lost, and all my feelings were a mush inside, and my biological mother found me, I would not have been able to produce that 1/3 as it eventually turned out. And that's why it also took a little bit longer.
Well, I can
8
imagine.
8 more months.
Wow. How was that's awesome. That's a fantastic story. How compiling the list of recipes that you wanted in the book, how hard was it to make the final cuts of what went in and what didn't go in?
Extremely excruciating. It was really just as bad as writing that 1/3 last of the book. Yeah. Because I wanted to share so much. Because Mexican cuisines are, and I say cuisines, not cuisine, because every region in Mexico really has its own. Yeah. Depending if it's north, south, east, west, if you have a coastline or if it's in the mountains or wherever. And I wanted to share so much of my country through food. Yeah. That making the final cut in deciding what should I do. Yeah. Cajeta crepes or chocolate banana crepes or, certain kinds of things. Yeah, yeah. So it was very difficult to try to cut some of the recipes out. Yeah. But we have 114 in the book. So all in all, I was able to you've been reading the book, so in the moment when I get to talk about the Day of the Dead, which is one of my favorite holidays.
I love that type of, I don't know what to call it, like artwork, that the skulls and the colors and the bright, I love that stuff.
Wasn't it beautiful?
Yes.
And to be able to capture it like that, as a side note to this Day of the Dead story, Scott and I went to Mexico during the month of July. Okay. We were at this place in Mexico where the Day of the Dead is impressive, to say the least. But we were not there at the right time because the Day of the Dead is, you can find things late October, early November, a little bit more into November, but not really in July. Yeah. So how the heck do you photograph what does not exist? Yeah. So we went into a bread store. And I talked to the bread store manager. And I said, listen, we're here for a week, if that. Yeah. And I know that you will probably say no. But if you say yes, I will be forever thankful. And will credit you in my book, for it. Yeah. Can you make for us Day of the Dead breads and little stuffs that we can photograph? And he's like, heck yeah, come back tomorrow and I will have a display for you guys to play around with. And he closed the bread store for us. Wow. That day. Of course we paid for the bread and we paid for everything and whatever, but he closed to his to the people that go and buy there, to his consumers, just for us, so that we could do a whole day of photo shooting, which was sensational. Yeah. And we got some of the best photos, and they're very colorful and they are fantastic. The displays that he set with things that weren't even, available at that time of year was truly impressive. Yeah. So that one there are so many recipes that depict the Day of the Dead. Yeah. So picking what I was going to, to share, as in food-wise, I tried to make it match the text. Mm-hmm. So we were in Nangangueo, Michoacán. Okay, so let's do a little bit more of what the Michoacan cuisines are about, rather than what I would truly put, say, on an altar, expecting to fulfill my, how can I say this? We want our dearly departed to come back. Yeah. So I always put an altar for my father, and always thinking, what were his favorite foods? Yeah. And how can I honor him? Mm-hmm. So instead of going that route, I went more with the traditional. What do they serve for Day of the Dead in Nangangueo, Michoacán, which is a little place like this that if you blink, you miss it. It was phenomenal. Yeah, it really was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, making this book and traveling, did you find yourself learning things that you didn't know about like Mexican cuisine or cultures or anything like that? Was there any part of this book where you were discovering things yourself, or?
It's gonna sound arrogant, but not really.
Okay.
Because of the places that I talk about, in that 2/3 of the book, I know it so well, like the palm of my hand. I know the cities. I know, their mountains, their rivers. I know their small little restaurant-like cafeterias that, they wouldn't even be called that. Street food, the people. I have friends there. So I know those regions by heart.
Okay.
With all my soul.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to write about places that I didn't know about.
That didn't have a connection with
Right.
you. That makes sense.
Because it was all about sharing with my children.
Very true, yeah.
My love for the country and which parts of the country I really liked.
Yeah.
Why I liked them.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not just the story of the place.
Yeah.
It's why, to me, does it mean so much? Like there's this one where we go to Real de 14.
Okay.
Real of 14. That's the real translation. It's just the name of a train station.
Okay.
You know how you have train station 1, 2, 3?
Yeah,
well, this is a little town that was built up in station 14.
Oh, okay.
Of this place in the middle of really freaking nowhere. But I had done a lot of shamanic studies in my early years, and we were invited by one of the head shamans to participate in their rituals and to get peyote.
Okay.
And, just participate with them in every way, shape, and form that we could.
Yeah.
So when Scott told me, where do you want to go? So, of course, I want to go there, right? Mm-hmm. Because you can beautifully photograph a desert.
Yeah.
The peyote, which many people don't really know about because you don't find peyotes in many places of the world.
Yeah.
It's a kind of like a very potent mescaline drug that is found in that particular cactus.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people, when you say peyote, they think it's a mushroom or something like that, but it's a cactus, right? So it's important to get a visual of those things.
Yeah.
When we were going down from the actual town down to the train station stop, which is where the peyotes are, I kept telling Scott, you'll see. We're not going to see them when we just arrive. They're not there. But you start invoking it, and suddenly, when you see one, you see the rest. And he's like, yeah, right. Of course. Mm-hmm. And, all the other people that were traveling with us down to the desert were sort of thinking the same thing, like, she's probably really cuckoo, right? That's not how it works. But then we get there, and the guy that was driving the Willy, that's how they call the Jeeps there.
Oh, okay.
He says, well, I'll be back to fetch you guys in about 2 hours, and I expect you to be in the same spot where I dropped you off. So, don't wander off too far.
Yeah.
And there we are looking, and of course there's nothing, and these people, including Scott, have no idea what the peyote looks like.
Yeah.
But you're in the middle of nowhere. The only thing you see are a few desert plants and sand all over. So finally, we find one. The mother peyote, which was humongous. You can't touch those because from those spring the others.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like bad if you grab the big ones.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
only really grab the small ones.
Okay.
And after that, we just started spotting them all over, and they were like, oh, man, this is like the creepiest experience ever because it's so true.
Yeah.
That once you see the mother peyote, then you can see all of the other peyotes.
Yeah.
And because I have had peyote before, and I do not appreciate drugs or their effects.
Yeah.
I love putting myself in a happy mode on my own. Thank you very much. But I won't say I haven't tried it because, we were there to celebrate with the shamans.
Yeah.
And as a part of the rituals, you have to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought that it did anything to me in particular.
Yeah.
And it tastes awful. It is just something that I do not wish to nibble on again in my life. I don't know if that really pretty much explains how far away I want to keep from it. But Scotty's like, I'm going to have some. I hope you don't mind. I'm like, hey, knock yourself out, right? Just whatever. And my son Patrick was with us at the time, and he says, Ma, do you mind? Like, no, I don't mind. Like I told Scott, go for it. I'm going to be here with two very happy individuals, but, other than that, I really don't mind. And going back on the Willie, back to the town, they were like, ooh, look at the purple rock. And it was actually purple, right? But it was just enhanced. They had not seen it.
Yeah.
When they were coming down.
Yeah.
But now with all of the senses really awakened, their experience of the place was as it had been for me.
That's awesome.
Such a long time ago.
Yeah.
And we were there looking for a friend of mine who should have been at that point about 109 years old.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Sabas. And she and I had a lot of wonderful moments together, in my youth. We stayed at her house. Mm-hmm. And she was the one that taught me how to make Mexican string cheese and candied pumpkins and pinole and, all of those things that you don't really get to do at home. I mean, my mother was not a candy maker.
Yeah.
And she was not a cheese maker. So these were the items that she would make at home to sell at the marketplace.
Okay.
And I had the privilege and the blessing of being taught by a woman whose livelihood was based on that. And of course, I learned her very tragic story through those encounters with her. And her story is one that I share in the book.
Yeah.
Because I just thought it was so heartwarming and heart-wrenching at the same time. It's one of those where you're like, there has to be a point in time, somewhere in the book, some little spot where I can honor her life, her doings, and the influence that she had on me and everyone else these days preparing her recipes through the book. It's just outstanding.
Yeah. It seems like it was just an awesome experience to go through this whole thing. I have a travel bug that's bitten me recently, and I never actually thought, to be honest, that like Mexico would be on that list of places that I really want to go to. But it sounds like I have a friend who I went to school with who lives in Mexico City, and it seems like a fantastic place just in general to explore and to see that kind of. I mean, obviously, if I can get to the little small towns and experience that kind of stuff, that's what I'd really love to do. Yes. But obviously,
and that's what I think traveling should really be all about.
Mm-hmm. We can. I guess we can start to wrap it up. I know you wrote this book for a specific reason.
Yeah.
Do you have any urge to write another one, or to do another book of some sort, or?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It is already in the making.
Okay. I don't want you to spill any beans that aren't ready to be spilled.
No, yes.
But so yeah, you still are interested?
I'm just waiting a little bit.
Okay.
Because I am still not done with what all these things that the book has brought.
Yeah.
I tend to say that it wrote itself, although of course it didn't. But it has had a life of its own because it has gone places that I never thought possible.
Well, it's in the, I saw the United Nations, I wrote it down, the Educational Scientific Cultural Organization. That's
right.
That's very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all over the world now.
It's all over the world. And, the reviews are stunning. And, I mean, I couldn't be happier. But I want to wait some time for that to die down. For the excitement of the book. Now, it's been published for 3 years, and the excitement has not died down. But I am waiting for, the correct time. It's a book also about things that the kind of food that I love, which is soups.
Okay.
With the kind of magical background that I have.
Okay.
Even though I was born into a Jewish family, I took paganism.
Okay.
As a, so witchcraft,
basically.
Yeah. So it's going to be called Laura's Cauldron.
That's very clever.
Of course. A book about soups and witchcraft.
Nice.
So it's really, it's awesome.
Awesome. That sounds like a very cool idea. I'm looking
forward
to reading.
But it's not ready to be published yet until this other one loses, momentum.
Yeah.
Because I've been so busy coming and going and presenting on the book and whatever that I don't want to overwhelm myself.
No, that definitely sounds right. Well, that's fantastic. Any other plans for 2013 for this year?
Not really.
No, just enjoying life.
That's right, just winding
enjoying
down
food
after the wedding.
I can only imagine. Yeah, so
and
just relaxing and eating well.
Oh yeah,
that's the best you can do.
That's right.
Well, Laura, thank you so much for coming down here. This is awesome hearing your story, and I'm lucky enough that I still have one of your copies of your book sealed that you gave me. So we're going to be giving one away when we post this podcast, and a lucky listener will take it home. So
wonderful.
Thank you for donating that, and thank you for coming down here.
You're welcome.